So I heard this ISC is straight up just the Banu Merchantman, which is like, I get it, it's Alien Week, but if that's all we got for Alien Week, then yeah, I think this is a good thing. All right, so in previous Alien Weeks and previous events, all these things, there's I don't know, they usually like plan more stuff that's in the game in a lot of ways, and I think Alien Week was always just kind of like a sale. But what I like and what I'm seeing is that a lot of the stuff that's going on now seems to be there's not a lot happening, because there's a lot happening as far as like the game's development is going, and the focus is in the right places now. And this is like actually a really exciting moment for me for Star Citizen. And I feel like just like a little, I'm probably reading way into this, but the fact that so many people are interested in the game, so many people are buying the game, that no. So many people are watching, and so many people are playing, and so many people are buying, that they don't need to do these things as much as they used to. So all the extras on top that make the whatever effort that they put into Star Citizen's development look bad, right? So there's a lot of moments where Star Citizen's development looks bad, not because of the things that they did development-wise or even the delays, really. What enhances the delays is all the extra crap that they do to make money, right? All the pay-to-win stuff, all the stuff that they do around the ships, everything. So it is kind of nice to see them almost like seemingly throwing this together, because they didn't want to do anything in game. They didn't want to waste time. And I think that I wonder what the next like year or two is going to look like with this sort of shift in the way that they're doing things. But whatever. I mean, that's a really long intro to us watching ISC, and yeah, we'll see. So let's check this out.
I think my favorite alien species in Star Citizen, if I had to pick one, if I had to, I love them all. Yeah, I have a deep fondness for the Banu.
Like the visual architecture.
They just seem like kind of cool critical thinkers.
The Xi'an I'm closest to mentally, meaning I know more about them than all of the others.
They're like the chill, relax.
I wonder if you can read into that a little bit, because he's a Squadron 42 guy, which is weird, because obviously you feel like he would know the Banu.
Ones.
Even though they're so friendly, they look like they can pack a punch,
So far, the ones that have piqued my interest is the Vandal.
They're the predators of the space in our universe.
And they look really kind of fierce and ferocious.
When you encounter them, you're in a lot of trouble.
My favorite alien race, probably the Vandal. There's no alien ship better than the Talon.
Isn't the Talon Tavaran?
It is Tavaran, yeah, but the Tavarans themselves I'm not keen on. That ship. But yeah, the Vandal,
Busted.
they just tick all the right boxes for me.
Alien Week is here, and with it, our annual celebration of Xi'an, Banu, Tavaran, and even the dreaded Vandal. And if you haven't already, check out the various contests and activities happening across social on the robertspaceindustries.com website. But for us here at ISC, we thought we'd take this week to dedicate entirely to exploring the current status of the highly anticipated Banu Merchantman. Now, warning, much of it is still in gray box or early white box phase. Still, there's a lot to explore of its mysterious interior. Let's find out more.
I think when tackling a ship that's got so many unknowns about it, it's a completely new art style, or it's not something that a lot of the team kind of worked on before, we kind of need to make sure that we're approaching it in the most sensible way we can.
All right, so some old thunder. We are jumping in with our devs. We have got vehicle art director, Mr. Ben Curtis.
Hello. Hello.
And senior.
Why is he blocking the background? I guess he's not in his room. Maybe he's in the office.
Vehicle designer, Mark Gibson.
Hello.
And we are going to be showing the very real, very current progress of the Banu Merchantman. Before we get into it, let's talk a little bit about where we are in that process.
Bro, this is not ISC. What is this?
Ben, we know the Banu Merchantman has been in development for a while, then it's not in development. Set this up for us. Where are we at overall in its development?
The exterior is going through its grey box pass. So it's looking a little bit more advanced than the interior of the ship that we'll see in a bit. We've basically got 2 artists on it, and we kind of chop the ship up into different parts that they can work on. And we're just going through and making sure
there's only 2 artists on this ship. Holy crap.
That everything that needs to fit in the ship is going to fit in the ship.
And it's worth noting that this is a landmark ship for Star Citizen. This is one of the biggest ships of its kind. It's got entirely new purposes with the shops and everything inside. It's
the only ship of its kind.
An alien race into a new size and scale that we've never done with any.
I guess the only other ship of its kind would be the Kraken, right?
Any of the other ships outside of Squadron 42. There is a lot to this ship. So with that, let's jump on in and start with the exterior.
What the heck is that? This nose is okay. This nose is nothing like the concepts.
So we've got the entire front with its hidden weapons that come out from there.
My guess is what probably happened is something needs to go there, and it doesn't fit.
The pilot control. It's dual docking collars, one on either side. It's
also, guys, I know this is going to end up on YouTube too, so I'll ask you in the YouTube comments. But for the Twitch people, every single time a big ship comes in, it feels this big in game versus that big in the concept, right? Like, all the concept art makes this thing look super big. And while if you put like a character model next to the ship, it's probably super tiny. Doesn't the scale always just never feel right? With the C2, it really did that for me. C2 was a ship that I was absolutely obsessed with the concept art of. I thought it was amazing. The scale, the size, all of it just felt so big. And then for some reason, when they come in game and they're scaled like properly for the game, it always feels small, doesn't it? Even though they're not. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying that they made a mistake, like somebody said they messed up the scale. Like, no, that's not the case. Everything's scaled properly. It's the way the concept art looks and the backgrounds of the concept art or whatever. It seems to be a thing that happens a lot. It just is a thing that I'm pointing out. It's not like good or bad.
Wings with the new
it's obviously a huge ship
for them, for how they're actually going to deploy. As you can see, there's a lot of detailing.
I like the wings.
On the wing section, a very elaborate and almost elegant design on it, because at the end of the day, this is something they use as a trademark to show how wealthy they are and well they're doing as a trader.
That's a lot of detail, even for grey box phase.
Yeah, it's a new art style. We've done the Defender, obviously, but for the UK team, it's a kind of new art style, and also the Defender is vastly smaller in terms of its size. There's our normal kind of approach to how we kind of layer in the details has needed a bit of kind of alteration. And we've had to kind of think about how we're going to bring in some of those smaller scale elements to give a better sense of size and scale. Because when you zoom out from this ship, you still want it to feel huge, and it deserves to feel huge. It is absolutely monstrous. So I think we've had to spend a bit more time working out how we're going to add detail to it. There's still a lot to be done. There's still a lot of the finer details to be added, because that does impact.
See, like, the nose definitely looks weird. I mean, the original nose had this, like, this like weird disconnect thing, and then it looked like there was like livable area throughout that. Like it was almost like two pieces of the ship were smashed together, but the livable area was in the middle. And yeah, it was like really pointy. Listen, man, if more of the ship is usable, I don't necessarily care that the nose of it looks different. For me, this ship was always about what its function was and why it was so different from all the other ships. What excited about me about the ship was its specific function. And, well, I'm still not very excited about the ship because I doubt it's going to
how we
join the game with any of its functionality.
So yeah, it's been a fun challenge for the artist so far.
I understand there was a recent change to the animations.
Yep, I'll have to go get in.
Oh.
The back looks really nice, though.
They were very quick.
Oh, the animation is nowhere near final. It was just to make sure we got it in.
I think it's a fair disclaimer for this. Absolutely no part of what you're seeing today.
Yep.
It's fine.
I was like, I remember seeing the play blast in Max, and they were a little bit felt a bit weightier and a bit sleeker than that. But yeah, there is some kind of subtle movement where panels open up and they allow for the kind of like the rest of the wings to slide in. And as with everything we do, we make sure that there's not space magic going on. Things actually kind of fit and function as they should. So yeah, it gives a few more challenges, but I think the end result is a much nicer kind of silhouette when you see this thing parked.
Let's move inside. Let's start with the bridge since we're already there.
Okay, so yeah, the interior of the ship, like I say, is the main. Well, you're going to see now, is mainly in kind of white box. The concept mesh gave us like a really good starting point.
I got one problem with this.
Meshes, we had to do a fair amount of kind of optimizations and remodeling to kind of get it to the point where we can get it into engine and kind of start walking around it. The bridge is trying not to say the same thing for every area. It's massive, and you can just any area of the ship.
It doesn't feel massive. But again, they probably get more of it than everything. I'm the only, like, aside from the obvious, like, slow exit animations, things like that, I don't know if they'll ever fix, because we've been complaining about them for, like, since we've gotten in and out of our ships in game, we've been complaining about them. The only thing that I saw is if they do end up going in the seats again, you'll see the glass is like just over your head like this at a really kind of steep angle, and Star Citizen and their glass and the little scratches and all the weird stuff that they do on the glass, especially when a ship starts to take wear and tear, it's going to be very weird. So that's why, like, that's the only thing that I'm going to comment on, because it's obviously all this stuff is in work in progress, but we know that there's that kind of issue that Star Citizen still does, and I think it's like kind of an artist thing over a gameplay thing that I don't like, is that the glass may actually become difficult to see through if they do that with this. Right, so that's the only comment that I would make. I'm not. I don't really want to sit here and comment on gray box stuff.
You've obviously got the kind of like the four.
This is going to look so different and change so much from now.
Stations? Yeah.
So as ever, the Banu don't have captains. They're a very family communal sort of unit. So it didn't make sense to have a primary captain station for the bridge section. In reality, everything would be relatively even. So we have the pilot seat and control, which obviously with a ship of this scale, it's very difficult to get a good view from the pilot seat, to get a good view of what's actually happening. So
they're getting back in. Like, the view didn't look that good, though, so that's what I was confused by.
Animations need to be very alien so that you can get the pilot into a good position so they'd be able to see what they're doing. So we use a lot of...
Like, if that there is a good view, because you can even kind of see it a little bit on their glass there, that view doesn't look good, but there's also the only thing I could see is the glass. So that's kind of what I'm worried about.
Cyan tech, which...
But other than that, there's a lot of black, right? You could see that if there was something in front of me, it would be good. I think this is just like a bad demo to show the view because we don't see a ship in front of us. We don't see a landscape in front of us. So it's kind of hard to tell if the view is good or not yet.
Lift things up through gravity so they can get this fantastic view out front.
So I'm not going to act like you guys in chat and say the pilot view is terrible or whatever.
Seat.
It's hard to
the
tell.
Right of them, you have your co-pilot seat. Then 2 stations behind are for the large remote turrets that the ship has for defense. So if you ever need it, people can quickly jump into these seats and get into the action to try and defend you from whatever's happening if it's coming up behind or the sides. Obviously, if it's coming on front, the pilot has more than enough means to be able to deal with it themselves.
And if your instinct was to stop the YouTube video and go immediately to comments and say, it's pronounced Xi'an, Mark, get a better hobby.
Oh, I'll say you'd be correct.
Directly behind the bridge where the actual operations occur, you have some basic features for if stuff goes wrong.
Yeah, it seems like
So
it
you
might
have
be a
some
good
suit
field of view.
lockers to put
I'm just worried about the
emergency suits
scratching
in.
glass,
Obviously, they're
that's
not
all.
going to want to go around in their day-to-day lives wearing their spacesuit all the time. But if something goes wrong, they do want them to hand. So next to the actual escape pods, you have your suit lockers to quickly get suited and booted, and then be able to get into your escape pod and get out of there if you need to. So they have one on either side, one for each of the actual crew that would be on the bridge, as well as a couple of extra, because leading a little further down, we actually have the more habitation side of the ship, but we'll get to that when we get there. Directly behind, we also have the entryway to get inside the main man turret.
This is kind of one of the rooms that we spent a bit of time kind of playing with in white box and making sure we got it right. We really wanted this to...
Bro, what? Okay. I thought this when they first showed it too. What the heck is this room? Yeah, it's like this magic turret, this giant room of wasted space all dedicated for this one turret. It's so weird to me.
Feel, like quite a moment walking into it.
Yeah.
Go on, Jared.
No.
Okay.
Even in gray box, this is quite a moment here.
See, like, I'm just like a function over form kind of person all the time. So it's very clear that the people we're speaking to now are more the form over function types. They're the artists, right? So they wanted this to be a moment. They wanted this to be a thing. How I understood it is this isn't a giant waste of space. I believe that like below, like this is a bridge. I thought it's supposed to be, right? And then below this, you see other things. I can't remember.
Yeah, there was some really nice bits in the kind of concept where you had these kind of like these like lit walls, and we tried to kind of pull some of that into. And I think it's almost
an ode to the Prometheus room,
like solitude before you kind of get yoinked up into battle. So it's quite a lonely area of the ship. Everywhere else on the ship kind of feels like it's built for like Mark was saying, like the family, whereas this is kind of very purposeful. You know what you're getting into as soon as you walk in that room.
And obviously the exterior shell there, when all said and done, would open up and reveal you to the outside space.
Absolutely.
So an interesting thing about the turret, because it's probably something people are going to be curious about, is how it actually works, because there's no big
you're
arm
manning the
there
turret
behind it or anything like that. Once again, it's using alien technology that's keeping it up in place, which is what the plinth is for behind it. And there's an air shield that will be going around the top of here so that when you actually enter the turret, you're not venting the entirety of the room. Obviously, that does mean that people could try and sneak onto your ship, but while your turret's manned, that might not be the safest thing.
I mean, it's a cool room, and we're not in a ship this size. Are we really worrying about wasting a little space? I doubt it, right?
I love that Xi'an fight of the navigator tech.
Moving down from the actual bridge area, we then move into the sanctuary. So
Sanctuary.
The Banu are known for being very multicultural when it comes to their religious beliefs. So they have a entire area dedicated to worship, to fortune, to hoping that things are going to go well for them, or that the next trade deal is going to be a good one. So this is sort of at the end of the tree of life, which is how the entire ship's built around. And it makes sense for it to be at the end of the tree because it's where everything comes out from. So it was important to keep that feel that it runs through the root of the ship. Going off the side of the sanctuary area, we have the med bay, something that people are very curious about where it actually was. It's just off to the side, just behind the bridge, just near where all of the actual habitation is. You have a primary medical care bed, which will do your day-to-day actual healing. And then you have recovery beds similar to the ones we have on the Carrack. Now, rather than just being a bed, decide to try something a little different. It's now these pools of healing gel that you.
That's kind of cool. I think that's kind of cool.
Lie in just to recover from any significant operation that you had.
Yeah, I think this was again an excuse to kind of just push the ship away from what we're used to seeing. So originally we had like the 3 beds lined up in here, and it was functional. It was it still looked good. It was just like, do you know, it'd be really nice.
It's kind of boring, I guess.
If you had your operation and then you just sink down into that recovery pool, and
I am drippings with goo.
Yeah, exactly.
Secretly tucked behind the actual medical section is where the actual medical officer would work. So it's his main station, as well as storage supplies for whatever medical supplies that you need.
The fuck would a medical officer do? Press 1 button, heal?
Obviously, at the moment, it's just the back of the bed, but it's where you do refills on the bed or anything else that you'd need to do. Obviously, the doors across the entire ship are very alien in appearance. So though they make sense, but at the same time, like it was very important that you're going across this to make everything make sense to the human eye, but at the same time be so different. So you immediately recognize it as a door, but once it starts actually animating and doing something, it feels completely alien. And even doing the general design of the ship, it was important to keep that consistent, something that is easily recognizable, but also completely different to what people expect.
Yeah, that's cool.
Moving on from the shrine area, we move into the recreation and social habitation area. So you've got your food maker, along with areas to actually eat, as well as the actual social area. So people can sit around, talk, plan stuff out.
And I think, one of the things that we try to tackle here is obviously we have very strict metrics for our human characters, and the Banu as a race are generally a bit taller, a bit larger. So there's that kind of balance between making things work for both scales of character.
Sadly, yes, another useless space map.
And making sure that we don't end up with let's say like the child in the scene. I remember we brought it up in one of the update meetings, and the consensus was, well, this is a Banu ship, and whilst they support all the other races that we have in our universe, ultimately it's their ship, and so things should be made to their scale.
Directly off the habitation area, we have a secondary control for the hangar section. So if someone needs to actually be allowed to enter into the hangar, you have a separate control room to allow you to open up the hangar doors to permit the additional ship to come in.
Nice.
Once again,
we even get a little animation
doors,
there.
But the whole animation, all of it's very alien.
And obviously, when we get to kind of final art, we'll dress this up so there does look to be some functionality there, because we don't want it all to be space magic. It still needs to feel like there is kind of mechanisms there that are supporting these things lifting and being able to kind of hover and float.
Coming off the habitation area, we have 2 staff lifts. So these ones would be specifically for the staff to allow them to move around the ship a lot easier. We'll come back to them later because there's a better point to show them, but they just give you more access just because of the size of the ship. We needed to have multiple ways to get up and down. Otherwise, if you want to get from one part to another, you'd have to run the entire length of the ship, go down the floor, to run the entire length again. So we added multiple ways to move up and down between the ship. So at the rear here, we have the we have the crew-specific lift. This has access to all of the floors, unlike the customer lift.
6 floors.
This is the passenger entrance area. So the lift will go to this floor for all of the passengers, which then gives them a little foyer area before they enter whatever floor they're on. We have the meeting area. So this is the conference room where important delegates would come to discuss significant trade negotiations rather than I'm going buying a power plant.
They said nothing about mercantile gameplay yet.
Conversations and serious negotiations.
Yeah, this has got like a really nice view out over the
whole ship is RP at the moment, from what I could tell.
To the side of the actual meeting and delegation room, we have the VIP suites. So obviously your VIP delegates are going to want something a bit nicer, a bit more special when it comes to where they're resting. So they have their own private chambers so that they can rest and relax and freshen up before they actually go do any significant meetings.
And again, this sort of room highlights a lot of the I guess the shape language and the difficulties on the ship.
I love that room though.
Everything's curved, everything flows, and there is that kind of like real kind of like leading
Morph's gonna
shapes that kind of like
get a razor
as
for
opposed
this one.
to what we're so used to on a lot of our human manufactured ships, whereas everything's hard and angled and flat. Really, the only thing in this ship that's flat is the floor.
So the negotiation table has one seat at the top for the actual mediator, which obviously would be a member of the crew, and then even number of seats on either side for the delegates to have their discussions. From the actual meeting room, you get a fantastic view of the cargo hold, where all of your goods would actually be stored. As you can see, the amount of cargo that the ship holds is...
What? How much cargo does this thing hold? 2,880 SCU?
Colossal.
Oh my god!
And just the sheer volume of it gives you this cavernous, cathedral-like...
There's your mercantile gameplay.
Being stuck in the rafters of a warehouse worth of stock.
Yes. Look, it even gets foggy at the top.
Yeah, it gives you a real sense of how tall the ship
Yes, my rager has commenced.
actually is. When we get to the market,
that's cool too.
You kind of get a glimpse at that, but it's not until you get into somewhere like this that spans the whole.
See, I couldn't see the scale from the outside, but the scale here really shows.
Or even the whole height. You've got the hangar above the height of this. How big the ship actually is.
And then he just said the hangar is above this.
Well, we're not going to be able to go through every single...
All right, so listen, RSI, the little Drake mule, how am I supposed to stack even to this level, let alone level 12 of these boxes?
Room and nook and cranny today. This is too big a ship. So let's go to the market now.
How are we manually going to move these boxes?
So I think this is what a lot of the kind of customers are going to see when they first walk into the ship. Is this sort of like reveal of the market area, and what we tried to do in this area is kind of everywhere
there's your
you
space
walk into
magic,
it,
exactly.
you're kind of walking through a small tunnel or quite a tight space, so that when you kind of do walk into it, it does then open up and you can see that sort of like that grandeur and that height of the ship. And this is only two out of
sorry, I can't speak. Is this the shop area
of the part of the ship you're in?
This is cool.
I think it's just a nice kind of like reveal of the overall kind of again, just repeating.
It does. It feels like a mall, but it feels like a mall, but also alien. It's kind of neat. Is that a gun
that we see in the other areas of the ship?
That's literally a gun. What? What is that gun doing there? Don't shoplift, I guess. I mean, true. Yeah. What the heck?
I think we've already shown a lot of the concept art of this area already. The idea here is that you've got this, hollow in the middle that will kind of, will allow the traders to kind of show off some of their items that might not fit in the shops. Or
all right, who wants to be what's his name? Bert something mall cop. Who's gonna be the mall cop on my ship here, guys? Who wants to be the mall cop? I'm taking applications.
Too valuable to play.
You need at least a master's degree and 2 years experience. Yeah, Paul Blart.
So yeah, it's a very exciting area of the ship, this part. Okay, and the last area we want to show you today is kind of the area that we spent a little bit more time on. It's a little bit further along. We tried to take some areas and push their visuals, so we've got a good understanding of how much work's involved and what the kind of like the final ship is actually going to look like, because it is such a large ship and there's going to be a lot of people ultimately working on it. I think it's good to have that kind of key area that you can kind of refer to as this is what the merchantman's all about. And whilst each area of the ship will have its own feel, will have its own kind of style and in its own forms, I think this is a good indication of the kind of elegance. And if you imagine this is the crew area and the guest area is going to be a level above this, I think it gives you a good idea of what we're aiming for.
The other thing is with the Banu, they're very communal in how they actually live their lives. So it didn't make sense to have separate quarters or separate captain's quarters because that's just not how they live. And getting the social pit for them to be able to sit around and talk and relax and socialize, it was an important thing to make sure that we got in. The space needed to feel fine and elegant, but also homely.
And that's pretty much where we're up to with the Banu Merchantman at the moment. This is kind of as hot off the press as it comes. There's a lot of areas of the ship we've not shown yet. We're really happy with the progress we've made so far, but at the moment we are kind of at that point where we've got a skeleton crew just kind of working out everything that we need to get done to deliver the ship. When time permits, we'll be able to ramp that up and bring on more of the team to kind of get through the amount of work that's
Okay, I did think 2 people was very little. Yeah.
Involved.
I wonder. Oops, excuse me. I wonder what else is going on there with that.
Super excited with where it's up to. I think it's going to be one of those that kind of stand out, one of those hallmark ships that kind of defines what Star Citizen is. It shows that there's more to our universe than single-seater fighters and the likes.
I mean, that last room really gives you the idea of like what the theme of the ship might look like, and yeah, I'm
So what did we learn?
happy
this
I
week?
got in at
Well,
250
she may not
on this
look like
one.
much just yet. It still has a long journey ahead of her. But if the Banu Defender before her is any indication, and given its sheer size and scale, the Banu Merchantman seems like it's going to shape up to be a landmark ship for Star Citizen when all is said and done. And as part of Alien Week, there are also these rad new paints available for select ships that you can see here. So check those out if
I don't like them.
Looking sweet as all heck is something
I guess it
you're
does look
interested
good on the Talon.
For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We're still here on the 8th floor of the Manchester Goods Yard building, the 2nd floor of the upcoming new UK office, and this is where I'm told CR's office is going to be when he visits. Also this weekend was the first International Bar Citizen Weekend, so here's some imagery from the gatherings near studios around the world. And don't forget to let us know on social
Bro,
when
I
your
can't
events are being
unsee.
held.
I'm sorry, I cannot unsee this lady here. Every picture, my eye is just instantly drawn to her pog face.
And don't forget to let us know on social where your events are being held at. As
Every
we're gonna
time
be
I see that
sending folks
picture.
to select locations throughout the remainder of this year. We'll see you all next week.
Damn, Montreal is packed. Nice. That was better episode than I thought it would be. I know it was like just a really focused. It was almost like a calling all devs or an SCL, not really an ISC, but it was interesting. And then I guess the next one is going to be an SCL, which is just concept art on the Banu, what they're going to look like. Still at this stage is crazy to think about. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess. Meister, thank you for 12 months. I appreciate it. But yeah. So far, yeah, I think I would agree. The part that seemed the weirdest and hardest to understand was the bridge. The best part, I think, was the cargo area. Wow, it's so big. And yeah, I can understand why a lot of people are upset about the nose, because if you've seen concept art, it is very different look on the outside. But I think in the end, the ship is really about its interior than its exterior. So it didn't bother me as much personally. And this is somebody who really wanted this ship for a long time, was very excited about the idea of, being a trader of some kind, but trading between players. And that little mall in the middle was what I was always excited about. So, yeah. But, yeah. Show the OG concept art. I could... real quick, try to show some. Let's see. Right? With something like this. Oh, I hit F12, not F11. So very different looking from the exterior, right? This very pointy nose. And it always felt like this area was, kind of where the living area was, but it had those points. Yeah. Then we kind of transitioned into this. Pull that over, which is much closer. This was CitizenCon 2021 concept. So this was much closer to what we're seeing now. The wings are almost identical. The nose, honestly, guys, very close. Just slightly pointier. I know I'm a little bit in the way. I'll move myself to the right. I don't know if you guys heard that. I guess the WebSocket didn't open up yet. But yeah, this is much closer. I think, honestly, the biggest move is the rear. Are we really going to complain that much after seeing this now? I don't know. That would be the only straying away from the current concept that we saw. And then we could kind of maybe zoom in as close as possible here on the bridge, because this is what people were kind of complaining about, right? Is now we could see the bridge a little bit more and get a sense of what it looks like on the outside versus the inside. But see how the angle of the glass is just very odd. But yeah. Yeah, and then this is really old. But I believe they've stuck with this somewhat, BB. Because they did say the cargo room, the hangar would be above that, and the med bay was behind the bridge, and the sanctuary seemed like it moved somewhere. They did kind of walk us through this. It would have been interesting to have this on your left monitor and follow them through. I'm just getting people sending a bunch of messages now, but yeah. I mean, you can't even really see the nose. It does have that duckbill look here in this image. So, I don't know. I think that's I think there's a bit of overreacting going on, but I think it's also justified because that nose language isn't as pointy as literally all of the concept art had been. So it is understandable that people would be like, "Hey, what's going on here?" But yeah, so that was ISC. Interesting.